Hey, what is going on, everybody? I am back with another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Boker Plus Caracal. Actually, this is kind of a re-look at the Boker Plus Caracal. If you can remember, I bought this about 2 years ago or so, and I bought it with three other Boker Plus knives. I'm sure you guys are wondering, why am I putting out another Boker Plus or Boker video. I bought this, the Caracal, along with the Quaken, the Excalibur, and also the SD3 about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I'm finally getting back around to doing a follow-up video. So here it is in my hand, and all the knives you see behind this knife is what I'm going to compare this knife to. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so now that I've cleared off the table, let's go ahead and get into the specifics of the knife, just general specifics. So what we have is about a 3.5, 3.6 inch blade, and it is D2 steel, and we got G10 handles, full liners, a partial backspacer with a generous lanyard hole plus skull crusher glass breaker. You got a pocket clip that is able to be reversed left and right for you lefties out there. A little notch for you guys. And it's a relatively compact size, a giant flipper, which allows you to access that blade really quickly. But it's a very comfortable knife to handle. At least that's in my experience. Now the deployment is super smooth. It runs on ball bearings. It just swings out if you push button it like this, or if you rock back like that. Either way, it is very smooth. I have taken this knife down. I don't think I made a video about that, but I did have taken it apart and re-oiled it, cleaned it, and for once, this actually went back in, or sorry, this actually got put back together properly. So I'm very impressed with this one. Now, in the past, I have said some pretty bad things about Boker Plus quality and whatever. This is probably one of the very few Boker knives, indeed, and I'm talking like from Boker Plus and Boker Tree branding knives that I've gotten, that actually is pretty decent. Again, I put this back together. Blade centering is pretty much dead on. There's no blade play in this one. I've adjusted it. And everything locks up solid. So this is a very good copy of this knife. Now on the blade, if you guys can take a look, it is quite shiny. That is not the way it came. Let's see if I can get this to focus. You see that top swedge there? That was the original finish of the blade. I put so many scratches in here, I decided to take a piece of sandpaper in there and just clean off all the scratches. Well, in the process of cleaning off all the scratches, I decided to keep on going, and I made it almost a mirror polish finish. It's quite fun to do, quite relaxing to watch this shine come out. So just bear in mind that this is not the way the blade comes, obviously. It comes actually like this top swedge here, which is stonewashed. All right, so on to ergonomics. Ergonomics is fantastic. I have about medium-sized hands. You can see I get 2 fingers into this giant cutout here, but it serves to lock your hand in forward and backwards, because I can easily just, again, get 2 fingers in here. And it here is where your finger kind of catches and kind of holds on to the knife really securely. There's no hot spots on the pocket clip that I can feel. And because it's such a huge, thick knife, there's a massive cutout here, or I'm sorry, not cutout, but there's a massive space here along with a lot of traction, allows you to disengage that lock bar with ease. And there's no issues with this whatsoever, even for you guys with larger hands. Now the pocket clip is very nice. It has not fallen out of my pockets accidentally. However, it has caught on a few things because of the way it's structured there. You can see it kind of angled outwards, but because of that, even if you had thicker materials for your jeans or pants, whatever you wear, tactical pants, it'll slide right in just perfectly fine. There's plenty of tension on this clip. However, I will say I have caught it on a few things and had pulled it partially out of my pocket, but nothing major. So just be aware of that. But it is a generous clip. I mean, it's huge. So it's going to definitely be very functional. Speaking of functional, you can take a look at the large lanyard hole. I mean, this thing is massive. You're going to be able to thread pretty much anything you want through here, and it doubles as your glass breaker slash skull crusher. And so it adds a little bit of weight to the knife, sure, but of course this is what the knife is meant for. It's purpose built. It's supposed to be thick, heavy, and tactical, I would assume. Not that I used it for that reason. Now, speaking of weight, that would be my biggest con of the knife. Now, if you are into the market to buy a huge, heavy tactical knife, this may not be the largest, nor will it be the heaviest tactical knife, but let's for sake of argument say you're just going to buy it for regular EDC carry. This is quite a heavy knife to carry on a daily basis. And with my preferences for smaller, lighter, thinner knives, this would not really fit the bill. I used to be in that market where I wanted to carry like these type of style of knives, and I kind of grown out of it. While I have to say, this is still a very, very highly functional knife, and it's very it's a big joy to actually carry and use on a daily basis. It is a bit weighty in the pocket, so it's not really what I prefer to carry these days, but it is a joy to deploy. It is very functional to cut with. I really like it a lot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compare this to other knives, and I know some of you would like to see a knife show. Let's see if I can, maybe I don't have this quite lined up, but either way, you can see it's not a small knife by any means. And now size is kind of a relative thing between every user of knives in general, but this is your average 3.5, 3.6 inch blade size, because they all have a ratio of handle to blade. So it is very comparable in a normal, I don't know what you would call normal, but like a normal 3.5 inch blade size. Now thickness, however, this is a really beefy knife in terms of a production knife. So you can see how it compares to the Sebenza 21. So pretty decently sized, much taller blade, of course. But I will say that the Sebenza slices a lot better than the Caracal does. Doesn't have that fun action though, unfortunately. And of course, here it is with the Unumzan. About the same blade thickness, or stock thickness, I should say. But the way the handles are done, meaning that this is 3D machined G10, the Unumzan feels a lot more thinner and sleek in the hand. Now the SMF has a 4-inch blade. Now when you say blade, meaning from the tang all the way to tip. However, because it's massive choil, it only has like a 3-something cutting edge. So if I was to pull the cutting edge all the way back to match up the cutting edge, you can see how much more blade you get with the Boker Plus. But however, these are beefy knives, and you can just see how much thicker the SMF is to the Caracal. But weight-wise, hilariously enough, the Caracal is actually heavier, I believe. At least that's the way it feels, only because this has no liners in it. And of course, it has a titanium locking side. So where the Caracal has full stainless steel liners, along with G10 scales and a massive stainless steel back spacer, and the SMF disc is simply just a one-piece G10. So it does serve to save a lot of weight for the SMF. And while we're on hilariously beefy knives, I'll bring out the Andre de Villiers Butcher. And there you go. So really, really tall blade on the Butcher. And again, hilariously thick. You can see here, it's just the Butcher is just a massive, massive blade stock here. But to give you an idea of what the Caracal, how beefy the Caracal is built, I thought these would be some nice comparisons. So zero tolerance 0220 and the zero tolerance 06 or 0, oh good lord, 560. For some reason I can never remember the name of this knife right here. I mean, not just because I have way too many knives, but just simply because they're all this numerical designation. So 0560 CBCF. So the the 0560 is actually a little bit longer, you can tell. Now, if I kind of line this up with the camera here, you can see just how much longer the zero tolerance is down here. So more comparable would be the 0220. They're about the same size, same blade height. And weight-wise, I would say these two are pretty similar. I mean, without a scale, I can't give you the exact, and I don't remember the exact weights off of these. But in terms of thickness, well, if you look at it from the backspacer, they're about the same thickness, and very comparable in pretty much blade geometry. The 220 has a slight recurve going on, very, very slight, but overall the blade is about the same. Piercing power is about the same. Cutting is about the same. They're both really thick, so trying to slice through cardboard with the 0220 and the Caracal is kind of a pain in the butt, since it's such thick stock that it doesn't want to go through cardboard as swiftly or easily. However, in deployment, I feel that the Caracal has a little bit of advantage, only because, and I've always said this before, and I know some people would experience this, is that because it is a frame lock, occasionally when you go to deploy this thing, and the way Zero Tolerance likes to make their knives is extreme detent. If you accidentally even breathe on this locking side, it's not actually coming out. And sometimes when people go to grip this, specifically because the 220 is such a slippery knife, you want to grip it tighter. And if you put more pressure on on the flipper tab, you want to grip it tighter, because if you feel like this is going to slide out of your hands, you have to learn to actually get your fingers off the locking bar, and then you can deploy it. So because of that, and there's so many things I got to think about, when I go to deploy this knife, it makes it where I won't say it's unusable, but it is kind of annoying, because if you forget, you pull this out of your pocket and you go like this, like, oh, why isn't it opening? Oh, wait, I got to get my fingers out the locking bar, right? Whereas when you get a normal liner lock, your fingers are never on the locking bar. Simply, it's just already covered by handle scales, which means you can't really defeat the flipper, and it pretty much deploys 100% of the time. So I like the action of the zero tolerance 220. However, I don't like the fuss sometimes that the 220 makes when I go to deploy it. Anyways, that's just a personal rant of mine. The CBCF doesn't really have the same issue for some reason. The CBCF, I can actually put my fingers right on the lock bar and actually still opens up. So it's just really how Zero Tolerance has structured their newer knives, so to speak. I never had a problem deploying this, even though it is a frame lock. But in terms of knives, I would say that the 0220 would be the closest comparison to the Caracal, in terms of size, weight, and everything, and of course beefiness. This is an awesome knife, but in the end, I think I would prefer the Boker Plus over the 220. Now, the Freeman is a very awesome knife. It's not your traditional frame lock or liner lock. It is a plunger style lock, as you can see here, but it is a very good option if you wanted a heavier, beefier, solid locking knife. The Freeman would definitely fit the bill. You can see the thickness difference here. Probably better off in the back. Well, this actually has no backspacer, is there? But it is a very beefy knife. It could do it all without liners or anything, because this is a full, I believe this is aircraft grade aluminum, very lightweight, and it has a very strong button lock, plunger lock, and it is nice. So, and they're both flippers. This will come out every single time. Your fingers will never be caught up on a frame lock or anything like that. It just locks up solid every single time. But until you break in the plunger lock, it is not going to be a big joy to deploy, because it will stick like crazy till you actuate the lock, like probably several hundred times. The other one's the Riot Horizon C. I think this is a C, and you tell the thickness is comparable between both of these. This one has no backspacers, flow through design. The Riot Horizon C is going to be more presented to you in a slightly more, what's the word for, elegant style, because it is a very beautiful looking knife with the anodized 3D machine clip, which is something I'm a huge fan of. Although I will say this clip is a pain in the ass to get onto your pockets, because it simply doesn't move. So unless you have paper thin pockets, this thing is not clipping onto anything whatsoever. If you have thicker materials, forget about it. Also, with the Riot, and I've never reviewed this knife, the locking mechanism, which I'm sure you've heard other people, other reviewers talk about, is just simply the way they structured it. The detent ball actually stops right here. And you see how my thumb's still in the way. So in order to get it out of the way, you have to move your thumb. But the minute you move your thumb, it doesn't overcome the locking bar. And it's, I gotta get my fingers out of the way now. It's just really odd the way they structure this. So in order to close with one hand, you have to push the bar all the way out, get it past that one point, which means you move your thumbs out of the way kind of dangerously, and then you finally can let go of it, and then it swings shut. Otherwise, it actually just stops right here, and it doesn't close simply because you're, the way it's made, I guess. But otherwise, deployment is excellent on the Riot. Deployment is excellent on the Freeman. I highly recommend the Freeman, by the way, and it's very comparable to the Boker plus Caracal. I mean, all similarly sized knives in terms of weight and thickness. The Riot feels a little bit thicker. Freeman feels a lot thinner. But price-wise, these are very different price knives compared to the Boker. Boker is going to be the best price, best bang for your buck in terms of what you get versus the versatility and the action of the knife. So, okay, so at the end of the day, how do I really feel about this knife? I feel like it's a very good offering from Boker Plus. And again, like I said, for once, I actually got a good copy of a Boker Plus knife, which is a rarity. For some reason, again, I don't mean to say this about Boker at all, because I'm sure they're a great company. But however, for some reason, I seem to have very bad luck getting good copies of their knives. I just keep on getting ones that have defects and QC issues and whatnot. But this one is extremely well built. Lockup is solid. It is perfectly centered, more or less. Action is awesome. I was able to strip this down, take it apart, clean it, put it back together, and everything came together with no issues. So again, a rarity in my book for Boker. So aside from the weight, unless you don't really care about the weight, and most people don't, or some people don't, and they don't care about the size, this is a perfect knife. So I can safely recommend this to pretty much anyone who want a overbuilt, with a very good solid action, lockup, and centering. This Boker Plus is an A plus in my book. So anyways, if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave it below. Aside from that, take care, have a nice day, and I'll catch everybody on the next one.